It's the Southern Gospel Gardener. This is Chris Henry. Thanks for joining me on another episode. Today's episode is going to be featuring music by the first family of Southern Gospel music these days, the Hoppers. And we're going to be featuring their album, Something's Happening. And we're also going to get to work in the yard on some accent plants, several different varieties, and one in particular I know you're really going to love, and you're going to be going to the local hardware store, garden center, and saying, I got to have this plant. So let's get to work right now while we listen to some good Southern Gospel music.
I smell the rose in bloom. I've been to heaven, though I never left the room.
Most excited to see this particular episode of the Southern Gospel Gardener will be my son Liam. He loves the Hoppers. You ask him anytime, what's your favorite group? The Hoppers. In fact, if you watch some of our old episodes, he's actually on an episode saying he loves the Hoppers. So I know he's going to like this episode. One of the things we got to do right now, I've got this Queen's Palm right here that we planted not too long ago, and right next to it is a hibiscus. Of course, in this particular climate, hibiscus, it's rare when they last through a winter. That means you basically had a very warm winter if they did last. So we treat them as annuals in this area. We plant them, and we're going to pull them out. We're going to replace it with something else, and there's some other plants that we're going to replace. And while we're doing that, why don't we start off with the Hoppers' opening song on this, Victory Shall Be Mine.
It shall be mine. Victory shall be mine. Shall be mine. Victory shall be mine. Shall be mine. If I hold my peace, let the Lord fight my battles. If I sing and shout, have faith and never doubt. It shall be mine. Victory shall be mine. Shall be mine. Victory shall be mine.
Boy, Kim Hopper's voice comes ringing through on that, and that's why she's always voted Female Vocalist of the Year. She's awesome. All right, so what is this plant that I was talking about earlier? What's going to be this awesome plant that you want to get? Here it is right here. It's called the Hercules calla lily. You're like, what's so special about this? It's a calla lily. Well, this is the Hercules calla lily, and you can see that this leaf is already about 9 inches long. These leaves can get up to 2 feet long, and the calla lily stems, where the flower stems off, can shoot up a couple feet. They're huge flowers. And so what I want to do is put it right behind this Queen's Palm so that this fills out a really large area, makes it nice and green where the stem is, and then has some flowers coming out. So we're just covering this. This is going to be an accent plant to the Queen's Palm right next to us. So let's dig this hole, put the Hercules calla lily in, while we listen to the title cut and a song featuring Connie Hopper, Something's Happening.
Something's happening where Jesus lives.
Something happened on Judgment Day. Something's happening at Joseph's grave. Hallelujah, hallelujah.
All right, we're ready to get the Hercules calla into the hole. And so we'll take this, put it right here. Now you're wondering, why am I putting it right behind this tree? Well, these like a little bit of a filtered light. Number one, they like it really moist, they like it really wet, so make sure if you put these in the ground, you water them a lot, and they'll stay alive the entire spring, summer, fall season. And they'll probably go dormant in the winter, go back to their bulb. Each year their bulb will get bigger, and each year the plant will get bigger. But we want to put it right under this Queen Palm so that when the sun is right overhead and begins to set in the west, this Queen's Palm will offer it a little bit of some dappled light. Not complete, not as much as I'd like, but it's going to have a good look right here, and hopefully the leaves can handle all of the sun that it's going to get, and maybe it'll help it grow too. So we're going to take some of this soil, fill it back in, And why don't we go to another site? Because if you think I only got one of these, you're crazy. These are great plants and hard to come by. So we're going to find another spot. We're going to put this other plant in on the other side of the yard. Here's site B for our second Hercules calla lily. We're going to put it right here. Now, just a while ago, you saw me clipping on a guava plant that looks like it was almost dead. Well, it was basically dead because it got a little overwatered this summer. Somebody left their water on, and the plant died. Now, luckily, the guava plant next to it somehow survived, but this one just didn't do it. So we're going to put a plant in, this Hercules calla lily. This is a plant that it would be okay if it got flooded again, and we could put this here, and it'll grow, it'll be large, it'll outgrow everything around it, and it'll be a nice accent plant on this side of the yard. So that's what we're going to do. We've got it in the ground. Let's put some dirt around it and some fertilizer while we listen to a song featuring Dean Hopper, Living in the Arms of Mercy.
So I'm
Living in the arms of mercy, totally depending on the grace I don't deserve. Living in the arms of mercy, Lord, I'm down to next to nothing, but I'm dying to be worth
your forgiveness. So I'm
living in the arms of mercy.
The next thing we're going to do out here is plant some bulbs and plant some seeds. And we're going to do it along this fence line. As you can see right here, you've got a sago palm and a lot of fence lines. So I want to cover that up with something called a canna lily. Now we just put in something called a calla lily, but this is a canna lily. And these canna lilies grow about anywhere from 3 to 6 foot tall and have blooms all the way up. Very tropical, very nice looking flowers, and it's a good way to cover your fence. So that's what we want to do, is take one of these bulbs, just take it out. It doesn't matter how you put it in the ground, what direction, it's going to grow the right way. It's not like some tulip bulbs or anything. This, you just throw it in the ground. So what we want to do is take our spade, dig a hole, throw this in. And while I'm putting all of these bulbs in, it looks like 6 or 8 come in this package, why don't we listen to one of the great songs on this particular album, He Remembers to Forget.
He remembers to forget what mercy forgave. The past that I regret is forever washed away. The King who knows it all could easily recall, and yet He remembers to forget what mercy forgave.
See those 2 little dots? That's the seeds. That's it. Not much. So all I got to do is basically press these into the ground with my finger wherever I want them, and these things will kind of grow up into a 2-foot plant. Pretty impressive for a small little seed. And while I'm putting these seeds in, why don't we listen to a song featuring the patriarch of the Hoppers, Claude Hopper, and he's singing, I Know Who Holds Tomorrow.
I know who holds tomorrow, and I know who holds my hand.
Well, that's all the time we have for today's episode. I hope you've enjoyed hearing about some of these new gardening plants that you could put in the ground that will really reap a lot of benefits in your garden. And I hope you've really enjoyed the Hoppers album, Something's Happening. I know I have. I love it. In fact, there was a whole month where I listened to it on the way to church. Every time I went to church, it was in the CD player. Mainly because my son would cry and just kick and scream unless I had it in the CD player. But I still enjoyed it. Thanks for tuning in one more time to the Southern Gospel Gardener. This is Chris Henry. So long.